Family in Slidell is in mourning after the loss of a 53-year-old man who drowned yesterday while trying to rescue his fiancée in the Gulf of Mexico. The body of Marie's cousin was pulled out of the water near Panama City Beach. According to the family, there were yellow flags at the time and the water didn't seem that rough until his fiancée was caught in a rip current. Cousin was able to lift her from the water. She survived, but he was pulled under. He was finally pulled out of the water. Lifeguards began giving him CPR until EMS got there. He later died at the hospital.